Hello, and welcome to Wellness Buds. I am your host, Stella Wingfield.
And I'm Laura.
This episode is inspired by the following quote. Everyone has inside of her or him a piece of good news. The good news is that you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is. Anne Frank. Okay, I just love this quote because it's so true. We are capable of so much, and usually our obstacle is our own damn self. Ain't nobody got time for self-doubt, so believe in yourself. You can do whatever you set your mind to, but I think sometimes the hardest part is getting started with whatever your goal may be. And I think especially with beginning the journey to get healthier, people get hung up on where to begin.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into health and all the different aspects of health, and it's definitely overwhelming. I mean, look at the health section in any form of book, store, library, online. Google is just like, well, your next billion pages, here you are.
So many different topics, overwhelming is the perfect word for it. And I think that because it's overwhelming, that people really get into their excuses, such as, I have kids, I don't have time, I can't afford the gym, I can't afford the high prices of food that are better for me anyway, or I just simply don't know where to start. I don't know if any of these excuses sound familiar. Maybe this resonates with you, but especially if you're stuck on where to start or where to go from where you are, or if you've tried in the past but have trouble sticking with lifestyle changes, this episode is for you. I'll reiterate from last time, change is hard and failure happens. Luckily, both of these things are okay. If being healthy was easy, perhaps we would live in a different world where diabetes, heart disease, and chronic diseases directly caused by less than ideal lifestyle habits wouldn't be as much of an issue. But it is very much so prevalent throughout the world. So yeah, eating well, exercising, making healthy choices isn't inherently easy, but it is, however, doable. You can make excuses or you can make time for it. The choice is yours. I also want to briefly note that excuses and barriers are two separate things. I know I live a privileged life of not experiencing barriers that some communities and people do, such as not having green or safe spaces near their home, living in a food desert, etc. If you're listening to this podcast and have access to this podcast, I would assume that most of you might not fall into this category. However, with my education background, I just wanted to bring up the fact that there are many things that we can do as individuals to live healthier lives, and we are so lucky to do so. Unfortunately, there are many people impacted greatly by policies and infrastructure that do not help such communities lead healthy lives. If you're not afflicted by such barriers, you really don't have any excuses. So, onward, onto where to start. We went into my background and how I grew up with healthy influences, aka my parents, extracurriculars like sports and stuff like that. But I think it's a great opportunity for Laura to share her journey into embodying healthier choices and what that looked like for her. So yeah, how did you start? I know you played sports growing up, but I want to hear all your deets.
Okay, well, I mean, like you said, I had a very similar start to you, just not as heavy at home influence in health. I did a lot of sports, did a lot of extracurricular. I did dance for a really long time. That was probably my biggest sport. And dance alone was like 12 hours of classes a week. Like, I was in there.
I didn't even know you did dance. What kind of dance did you do?
I did Irish dance.
I remember the Irish, but I wasn't sure if you did additional dance or if the Irish dance was what you were talking about.
No, it was the Irish dance. Like, I did it pretty seriously. So much so that I did it 12 hours a week and like traveled for competitions. And yeah, I was full blown.
I need videos of this, girl.
Well, you're going to have to hit up Sheila.
Will do.
But yeah, so I definitely had a lot of opportunity to stay fit kind of easily as a kid. I just think also when you're a kid, like hobbies and extracurriculars, they don't feel like working out as much as working out feels like that as an adult, because that's like your social hour outside of school. So you kind of want that time, and unfortunately push-ups just happen to be involved.
Yeah. I remember soccer too. For me, we would do these exercises. I remember ab workouts at the end of soccer practice and being like, why? But then seeing my best soccer friend next to me and we're just struggling together and trying to not laugh at the ridiculousness of it, but like just pushing through because that's just part of it.
Exactly. The buddy system is key to struggling.
Yeah.
However, in 8th grade was the first time that I broke the sesamoid bone in my left foot. And this is kind of where my excuse journey begins. Mm-hmm. I broke that and I was in a boot for 3 months. It definitely halted a lot of my life in so many aspects and not just working out because you are limited in your mobility. And it really affected my fitness routine. I did get back into sports when I was a freshman in high school after that journey, but by soccer season, I started to notice a very familiar pain in my left foot. And sure enough, I had broken the sesamoid a second time. I had to wait probably about 9 months to even get a consultation with a foot surgeon because there are not that many of them, apparently. And once I finally got that, they did decide I needed the bone removed because apparently you shouldn't be breaking that like ever or more than once. And they're not that important. So they took mine away. I had a lot going on in my foot at that point. So I did end up actually having 3 different surgeries, like in the size of a quarter on my left foot. So it was a big surgery. I had to miss 2 full months of school to recover. And yeah, it was crazy. I had a screw that now lives in my foot for the rest of my life. So we're tight. So I really, like, at that point, I stopped running because it was just never the same. Like, that's my first excuse was I would start running like I did in soccer or basketball and I could feel the screw. And it is like agitated where it is because there's something foreign in my body. And so once that happened, I just stopped running and that took kind of basketball and soccer fully off the table. Dance really just kind of irritated the site because it was all on my toes and the screw is in my big toe joint. So I just kept finding reasons to stop my normal, and that kind of meant I ended up stopping all of it. I didn't adapt. I wasn't eating totally horrible, but I definitely was eating like a teenager that didn't normally have to have restrictions because I was constantly burning calories. And eventually, I was going to see the effect. When I went to college, I did have a gym that was free and walking distance from my dorm. And I did actually start to find substitutions there. I think that's when I started to realize, like, I'm bored and poor and this is free. So I started going to the gym.
And oh my gosh, there are other things you can do other than running. What do you know?
Yeah, exactly. So I started going there and I did realize I could do the Stairmaster. Got really good at the Stairmaster, not gonna lie. I don't think I'll ever get back to that level. I wish I would. Found ellipticals and figured out, like, I don't have to use a treadmill. And I did some like core work on mats. I did not use the internet, so it was like kind of scrapping together what I did know, which I was on my phone all the time in college. Don't know why I couldn't think of just Google, but here we are.
Oh my gosh, dude. At the gym, I remember being in Charleston, working out at the gym there, and these girls just watching me. And I'm like, why are these girls watching me? And they eventually were like, I'm sorry that we're just staring at you. We're trying to get ideas. Like, how do you get ideas for these different exercises? And I'm like, Instagram, just do like hashtag workout. And I would find different things to switch it up. Yeah, I knew baseline stuff of what to do, but, you know, that gets a little boring after a while. So people like variety. So I was like, yep, just search the hashtag workout or like booty workout or, you know, whatever, specifically abs, whatever you want to look up, just do it like that. And they were like, wow, I never thought of that.
I am literally that girl. So no judgment.
Yeah, no judgment. I was just like, it seems so weird that people use these tools for everything other than, you know, things that could actually be useful. Yeah.
But yeah. But then I left school for a job back home, and I kind of left the gym, and I picked up a lot more work hours. I stayed in shape, kind of hustling around the restaurant for sure, but I kind of lost my gym drive, and eventually the no gym life caught up to me, because you can hustle around a restaurant, but when all that food is free and it's not all great for you, it will catch up.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, and I tried like apps that had workouts at home and these fad diets and all the different things, and I really just couldn't find something I would stick to. It was hard, and I just couldn't get a habit. But then I did meet Stella, and we were at least talking about our food at the time. We didn't talk about workouts as much at first. It was a lot more talking about food, which is really where I needed way more guidance, because I was just tempted by free food that I had access to.
Yeah. And when you have that accessibility and you might not be like rolling in the dough, it's just easy to fall into that.
Exactly. And I think I really only realized what I personally needed in a fitness routine when we started living in the same city. We did hot yoga and bar together.
Oh, such good times.
I know, I still miss it. I miss it so much, because you had like this buddy going to class with you, and you're going to a guided class, and like I finally could be consistent. It had all my little pieces in it.
I know, and we were on such a similar schedule of, we're going every morning at whatever time works for both of us, and talking to be in the same class. Yeah.
Exactly.
So great.
And it was going so well, but I did start to notice I was having pain in the foot that I had surgery on years earlier.
That
and I really
foot.
She's a real sucker. I call her my Frankenstein foot. Because she'd been pulled apart and put back together. But yeah, it was like, we're doing yoga. Like, why am I in pain right now? This is not normal. And I saw multiple doctors. I did multiple rounds of physical therapy, and I really didn't have much change. But this was when I kind of stopped letting the excuses interfere, because I had already had the foot excuse and I was over it. One physical therapist did show me like how to tape my foot to make it a little more comfortable, like kind of take tension off where it was hurting. And I bought the hideous but great for your feet shoes that all of us dread. And I just kept hiking and trying to stay active. But I did start to develop a pretty good limp and was looking kind of rough. So on the fourth doctor, they finally did find a cause for all my swelling and pain, and I had an infection inside of my foot, and I had to get surgery 3 days later. It was a roller coaster ride for sure. And again, I was on crutches and off of my routine. Luckily at this point, I was much more conscious of at least what I was eating and how much of it, because I think that's when viable excuses that you genuinely need to rest, you need to take time off, and you need to do that for your best health, you then eat poorly. Because, I mean, comfort food was life. I ate so much pickles and ice cream, don't get me wrong. I'm laying in bed, but I also was eating the right things at the other times, and I didn't come out of the cast feeling weighed down mentally or physically. And I think that's kind of what helped me bounce back a lot better. Don't get me wrong, it took a full year to get back to really doing some form of routine of like maybe doing a YouTube workout and getting outside and going hiking again. But I didn't let that excuse get me down the same way I did the first time I had surgery. Nowadays, I'm so far past that. It's so great because I use Orange Theory to stay active. And honestly, that's where I've seen the most improvement in my own habits. Because one, I need financial accountability. I'm cheap. I don't want to spend a bunch of money, and it is not cheap, and I have to do it or I will be mad at myself. Turns out I will really do it if I know I'm spending money on it. So that went well. And like, you're in person and it's guided, and the coaches know when you've been gone. Like, literally after 1 week gone, I had to be like, I got my wisdom teeth out. Please don't be mad at me.
Yeah. This is a real excuse. Not
Exactly.
just like I didn't feel like it.
I was on drugs. But, you know, I need a little bit of hand holding, and I think that reason is like, that's fine. But don't let that be the reason you don't do it, is that you need hand holding. There's ways to get your hand held. And
Yeah.
I'm a hand holder.
I feel like Orange Theory is great for that too, and we're not getting anything for promoting them right now. But it's great. Like, I went to that one class with you, and even though there's one instructor and a bunch of people, they're going around and, oh, if your form needs a little work, they'll point it out to you in not a way that makes you feel bad, but just in a way that they're trying to genuinely help you and be there for you. So you kind of have that personalization without having to get a one-on-one trainer.
We aren't getting anything for talking about them other than my personal love and affection, so I know I should not hover on this. But it is insane the way you can get personal treatment there in a class of 36 people. And it's awesome. And highly recommend. It's cheaper than a trainer if you're going to do it 4 times a week, because a trainer is not cheap. And I needed hand holdings. But basically, once I broke my excuses, I got a lot more dedicated to myself and found a lot more of what I was capable of and how to substitute. Another great part of going to a class, if you have restrictions, is they know how to adapt. They can tell you what to do to adapt. It's such like a big thing. But yeah, once you cut the excuses and you find the balance and you adapt, Gucci. Yeah,
you can be just like your girl Laura over here, thriving and being her best self. Yeah, I loved hearing about your story, and yeah, not making excuses, like you said, is just a huge first step. So, Laura, hit me with some of the common excuses, and let's see if we can't come up with a different way to look at it or troubleshoot. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I don't have money for the gym.
Perfect. There are so many free videos. Shout out to YouTube.
But I don't have equipment to use with the YouTube video.
No problem. Search no equipment workouts.
My mobility issues, they don't adapt on the YouTube video.
Well, you can start with stretching what you can. They have different YouTube videos for different mobility issues.
What about my injury?
You can probably work around it. If you have bad knees, low impact options are out there. Literally just search low impact workouts. Or you could just focus on upper body if you're having lower body issues. There really are infinite free videos to help you with what you want specifically, and many videos that cater to different abled bodies.
Okay, but I work out, but I don't know how to cook healthy.
I believe there is a video for that too. I am particularly fond of the lazy, healthy recipe videos. I don't know if you've ever searched for those, Laura, but they show up.
I'm definitely going to have to. But what if I don't know what recipe to start with?
The World Wide Web is your friend, my friend. You can literally search healthy recipes, healthy, easy recipes, like under 30 minutes, you know? I do that all the time.
What if I have no time?
Well, you could turn your job or spare time into a workout. If you already have an active job on your feet, it's easy to keep that movement going. Like you just said with your restaurant job, you have to hustle. So like, if you need to take the long route to get somewhere, if it is like slower, or if it is just busy, just keep that going. Just keep that movement going. Maybe throw in some squats periodically when you go to the bathroom. When you pick something up, squat it out. Maybe do like a little pulse at the bottom. If you sit at a desk, get up and stretch every now and then, or flex your quads while you're sitting. Shout out to The Office, because I feel like Stanley, remember that episode that he has like the weights on his ankles and he's doing whatever little exercises?
Yes, that's when they're competing for what office can lose the most weight, and Stanley wants that vacation dog. Stanley's ready for it, and he is working for it. Oh, it's the best. I love that episode because they're all like not doing well, and Stanley's like, look, we might have gained 2 pounds, but I lost 7.
Yeah, I don't know what these fools are doing. Also, if you're at work or at home while you're waiting on your food to heat up in the microwave, you know, you can do some calf raises, some squats, whatever. Any movement is better than nothing. You can extend this to while you're at home, while brushing your teeth. Just throw in a little bit of movement, dance around while doing chores. Laura knows that I love to twerk around my house basically any opportunity I get. just be a little ratchet and shake my ass like perfect while I'm doing laundry, picking up around the house, whatever. I just put on some bumpin' music that makes me want to groove, so I'm not even really thinking about it until Josh walks in and he's like, not surprised.
But yeah, time in general is hard.
Yeah. Okay, if it's hard, though, you just need to make time for it. 1 hour of your day is literally 4% of your day. Worst case scenario, just dedicate 30 minutes. 30 minutes a day is so doable, and you're so worth it.
What about healthy food? It's not cheap.
Well, again, though, are you not worth it? Like, people have no issue spending money on clothes, shoes, bags, going out, spending money on drinks, whatever. But food is too expensive. Like, if you feed yourself poorly, over time, hospital bills, health problems will definitely add up and probably be more expensive than if you would have just invested in yourself initially.
Well, just annihilate my excuses then.
Yeah, gladly. Anytime. So I guess the first piece of advice for getting started, do not make excuses. Just think about things differently. My second bit of advice is to just be realistic with yourself and set attainable goals.
Attainable goals are so important. Like, if it's too big, you're not going to be able to do it and you're not going to keep going. Start so small.
Yeah, like if you wanted to participate in a triathlon, but you've not been preparing for it, you wouldn't just go out and try to swim a half mile, bike 12.4 miles, and run 3.1 miles all in the same day, right? That would be literally insane, and your body would be like, what the actual fuck? Instead, you would just start with small increments of these activities and build up your stamina. If you habitually eat fast food, drink soda, and live a sedentary lifestyle, you wouldn't say, hey, it's Friday, I'm going to start to exercise, cook more, eliminate soda from my diet starting Monday, right? Ideally, in whatever your situation is, whatever you want to improve, you would start by setting a small, realistic goal for yourself. Setting unrealistic goals creates frustration. It makes you doubt yourself and your abilities, when in reality, as our quote of today, you're capable of so much. But if you overextend your goals, then you totally just don't see all the things that you really could do, and instead are stuck thinking, why am I failing here? If the situation applies to you where you eat out often, drink beverages loaded with sugar often, and eat candy or other foods that you know aren't particularly good for you, just start with one thing. Start saying, okay, Monday, I'm going to stop drinking soda. Or maybe starting Monday, I'm just going to drink more water, which will hopefully facilitate in drinking fewer drinks that aren't benefiting your body. Maybe fast food, candy, and exercising aren't your hurdles that you need to overcome. Let's say you eat relatively well, exercise occasionally, but you drink a mocha frappe every day from whatever coffee shop. If you don't know, most drink you buy from nearly anywhere, unless unsweetened, will inevitably have lots of sugars. Perhaps in this instance, this person would just try to eliminate the daily coffee beverage. Maybe the thought of this sounds really daunting. You could always say, instead of buying this every day, I'll just go once a week. Then maybe you could progress into, I don't need this extra 30 plus grams of sugar once per week either, and in several weeks just cut it out entirely. If the thought of cutting it out entirely doesn't vibe, you can just treat yourself to that on special occasions. I'm a firm believer that moderation is key. Everyone has their go-to guilty pleasures. After backpacking or a particularly grueling hike, I will certainly treat myself to an indulgent meal, but that isn't something I make a habit out of. If I work hard, I'll reward myself with a treat, food or otherwise. Maybe you're not sure what your goal should be. If that's the case, maybe just starting to pay attention to how much processed food you're eating. What are the ingredients? How much sugar is in what you're consuming?
Looking at sugars makes it really hard to eat things you want to eat. I have scorned myself.
Oh, it's so crazy. They just love to shove it into everything. Things that you would think wouldn't have any, just magically have just so much. Like when you really start to pay attention is when your eyes just open up. I don't know if anyone knows, but I'll just throw this out there. The American Heart Association, aka the AHA, recommends no more than 24 grams of sugar per day for women. and no more than 36 grams of sugar per day for men. Some things have so much more than that in just like one thing.
Bro, I'm just going to say some of these popular little electrolyte sports drinks have more than that.
It is crazy.
It is. But I feel like also, to a balance, I think I do better at this than sugar crazy lady over here. I tend to look at what is naturally occurring sugar versus inserted sugar, because if it's naturally occurring, I'm like, cut it in half. Okay, my body at least knows what it is.
Well, your body essentially processes all sugars the same way, natural or otherwise.
Shh.
And we can do an episode more in depth about this, because this just isn't really what this episode is about. But that's not to say that you shouldn't look at the natural versus added. That's still definitely a concerning thing when you are seeing so many more added than natural. Just makes you kind of go, okay, I should probably pick something else. But yeah, so after you set an attainable goal, get very specific with that goal and plan accordingly to set yourself up for success. Saying you're going to drink more water is a really great goal, but you should get super specific with it. When I made the goal to drink more water, I started tracking my water intake for a week without changing my habits, just to get my baseline and to assess what more even looks like for me. Like, just saying more doesn't mean anything if you don't even know like what your baseline is. If you're committed to eating more vegetables starting Monday, make sure you have more vegetables in your home, or plan where you'll receive more vegetables. Is there a grocery store that has pre-cooked veggies for you to pick up? Maybe a hurdle for you is time, so you want to get the pre-chopped veggies or the frozen pre-cooked veggies. That will just make it easier for you to incorporate into your meals as you're like getting used to this. Like I said, I'm really lazy, so like the pre-chopped everything, I am just a huge fan of, but that's just me. But yeah, so if you want to eat more vegetables, you can make a meal plan for Monday through Friday, getting specific with it, what you'll make for dinner each of those days, what you want to incorporate for your side. You can pin recipes, write them down, make your list, just do the damn thing. Just get specific with it, like how are you going to do it? Maybe if you want to eat more vegetables, instead of doing all of that like extra prep, you could just start eating salads for lunch each day instead of whatever your typical go-to meal is. My older brother actually gave me this idea because he did that for a time period and shed an alarming amount of pounds. But like, he was swapping his usual sandwiches or subs every day for that salad option. And yeah, that's how he started with that. And maybe that would be a good option for anyone listening. So just wanted to throw that out there. Maybe you instead just want to like make one day a week to veggie prep, and then you just have a butt ton of veggies in your fridge that you can just incorporate into your meals. If you want to stop snacking on candy or stop sipping on soda, don't have those things in your house. It's really simple, but if you just try to plan ahead and set yourself up for success, it'll just make things easier. All these new habits are in fact new, and a part of being realistic with yourself is knowing that change is just really hard. Things won't go as planned sometimes. You've been on autopilot and not thinking about your actions as it's part of your routine. You don't think about what you do every day right now. Probably it's just what you do, what like your normal go-to snacking is. That's what you tend to just gravitate toward. But until your new routine becomes embedded, it will take effort to think about what you're doing specifically. And I'll say it again, change is really hard. When a new policy comes up at work, is there not an adjustment period until it becomes routine for everyone to follow this new procedure? Of course it is. People are accustomed to operating a certain way, and bam, just like that, for whatever reason, safety, efficiency, whatever, things have to change.
Oh, I mean, even just changing our prices, I have to read like our price board to be able to even answer questions right after that, because it's hard to adapt. You've been saying the same numbers for so long.
And even just like, obviously, COVID and masking, having to mask, having to not mask, having to mask outside, having to mask inside, things change back and forth, and people are very resistant to it. Even someone who is okay with masking because I want to protect people in my community and whatever, like for a long time, it wasn't an autopilot to grab a mask on my way out the house. it had to become a habit after months and months and months. And even still sometimes I'm like, shit, I forgot my mask. But in this instance, you want to change to be a healthier version of yourself, and that's so great. Kudos to you for taking the time to listen to this podcast and trying to get inspired to make choices that will ultimately help you lead the life that you want to live. It is hard to get past the initial, wait, this is a lot of work phase, but eventually it will become second nature, just like your old undesirable habit once was. Until it does become second nature, though, another good place to start is remembering your why. Why do you want to be healthier? Seriously, think about it. Do you want to reverse the high cholesterol diagnosis as recommended by your doctor? Is it because you want to live longer for those around you? Maybe your children, maybe your significant other? Do you want to look better or feel better or both? Are you doing this because you finally got to the point that you just know you need to make a change because something isn't working here? There are infinite possibilities on why you would want to change, but only you know what motivates you. And that will continue to motivate you when you reach those challenging moments within this process. Remember why you want it. Remember why you need it. When things get challenging, remember all the benefits of this lifestyle change and remember your why. Maybe you should write down all the reasons why you want this. Maybe reread the list often, and maybe even put that list on your fridge, your dresser, or desk so it's just staring at you every time you enter those frequently visited parts of your home.
Friendly reminders are not a bad thing.
Yeah, totally. Solidifying your why will definitely help you stay focused. Becoming the healthiest version of yourself isn't a fad diet or temporary insane exercise regimen. It's a lifestyle change. And I think that's an important aspect to remember. If you're listening because you want a quick fix on how to get thinner, this definitely isn't the podcast for you. Being the healthiest version of yourself, if that's your goal as it is mine, is about being dedicated to a sustainable lifestyle. So I guess the final advice that I have for getting started is be dedicated to yourself and hold yourself accountable. Talk to the people in your life about what you're doing. If you say you're working out today, work out. If you say you're only drinking alcohol on the weekends, hold yourself to that. I find saying what I'm doing aloud to my partner, friends like Laura, coworkers, or family helps keep me on track. It opens up dialogues with those close to you, and sometimes, if that person was listening or cares at all, they might just ask you about it. Like, hey, how'd your workout go yesterday? Maybe a group of coworkers and you are trying to eat healthier together, so to keep each other motivated on track, you can have a group text where you share recipe ideas or food logs. Maybe you just want to keep a food log for yourself to see what it is that you're really putting into your body. And if you don't want to write it down in your food log, maybe that's motivation enough to not eat it. I had to keep a food log for a nutrition class that I took and found that I ate way better when I had to write everything down and log it. And I found that many other people experience that same phenomena because I was looking it up just out of curiosity, and it's some sort of weird psychology within our heads. If we have to write it down, and especially in like a report for school, I have to share what I'm eating with someone, so that naturally just made me want to be better. And then when you notice what you're going to grab for, oh wow, I'm eating more processed foods than I thought. Or man, I'm eating, because I would like log the times too to see like when I'm eating the bulk of stuff. So I'm like, oh, I'm eating more food after 7 than I really thought. You know, I try to eat a little bit lighter as I go through my day now, and didn't necessarily notice that before. So just a thought, if you want to write it down, maybe that could be helpful for you to see where you want to start. So I'll just reiterate the main advice points from today. Stop making excuses. Be realistic with yourself. Set attainable goals. Get real specific with those goals. With those goals in mind, set yourself up for success. Remember your why, and hold yourself accountable. Product of the week. 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 Or POW. I just realized that product of the week is an acronym for POW. Okay. This week's wellness item is simply my water bottle. I talked about it a little bit in this episode, so I thought might as well bring it into my POW. It might sound lame to some people, but having a reusable bottle every day helps me stay on track. I use my Contigo, And it just makes it so much easier when I just have it right by my side, like take it everywhere with me, refill it. There's so many places that you can refill your water bottle these days. So although I know everyone knows that drinking water is good for them, I think it's sometimes an overlooked aspect. We're primarily comprised of water, so it only makes sense that we need a decent amount of the stuff for our bodies to function properly. When Laura and I did a water challenge several months ago, she came up with the brilliant idea to keep track of your water intake for the day on the actual water bottle with a dry erase marker. And this might not work with all water bottles. It depends on the material of said bottle, but it works really well in the Contigo one that I have. So yeah, it kind of helps keep me on track if I am actively tracking my water. If I feel like, oh dang, I need to get back on top of it, like I'm not having enough, I'll start doing the little tally method again to make sure that I'm having adequate water.
I think the tally just even it would show me how long it took me to even start drinking my water. Because my morning I'd wake up and I'd be busy. And then at 3 p.m. I'm like, I have had 1 bottle of water. And it is 3 p.m. Then I chug 3.
Oh, I need to step up my water game. Yeah, for me it's opposite, where I'm like, I chug water first thing in the morning. I'm always so thirsty when I wake up, so my first water bottle is done by 8, but then sometimes it's 1 and I've only had that one. Still working on the second one now. But yeah, I like that wiping method because you can just wipe it off at the end of the day and see how you're doing throughout the day, like you just said. Yeah, so I'll link my water bottle if anyone wants a recommendation, if you don't already carry a water bottle around, or maybe you just want an upgrade. I'll link that below. I want to mention that if you have any questions, topics you'd like for us to cover in the future, or just want to say hello, feel free to email us at wellnessbudspodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your support and taking the time to listen to our podcast. Have a mindful week. Until next time.